drone fans. I'm here today to talk about the MicroRaptor Pro hard case for the DJI Phantom 4. This case was just released a couple of weeks ago, and I got mine a little while back and really spent some time going over it and seeing how the drone fit in it. And I'm going to do a compare and contrast with the Phantom 3 case, which is very similar. A couple of quick thoughts before we get into it. They really listened to their fans because some of the improvements they made to this case were things that people had comments about in the last case. The two things they've improved, I think, tremendously are they've got a brand new ingenious blade storage system built into the case. I'll explain that in detail in a little bit, but they've incorporated a way to actually carry extra blades with you without worrying about getting them crushed in the case. I was always worried with the last case that if I laid the blades in the blade area, that if something inadvertently shifted inside the case and I closed the top too hard, I might deform those blades inside there. They've completely fixed that with the new case. The second thing they did, which is more important I think even than that, is the last case had some issues with pressure relief. It was a watertight case, and if you took it on airplanes, it did a real good job of letting air escape, but the problem was when it got up to altitude, when the plane started descending, that case would sort of buckle, it would suck in. So you had to be very careful, and if you missed the part in the instructions about pulling out that little grommet behind the right latch, you could have problems with the case. I've never had a problem with it because I pulled the grommet out pretty early, but if you didn't do that, you could have some issues when you were traveling with the case. This new case completely eliminates that problem altogether. They've got an entirely new pressure relief system built into the case that actually takes care of that, so it can let air out of the case when it needs to, and it can pull air back into the case and pressurize, completely maintaining its waterproof structure. In addition to that, this case is the same size as the other case. The thing I like about the company too is they're thinking through how drone users actually use the cases, and they've got a deal on their website right now. When I bought the case, I bought it really early. I did a pre-order on it. I think it was $225 when I ordered it. They've actually got it on sale right now for $199.95. But in addition to that, what they've got is a package deal, if you will, between the hard case that I'm going to describe tonight and a duffel bag that comes along with it. And what you can do is actually take the foam from inside the hard case and move it over to the duffel bag and use it as a backpack. So it kind of gives you the flexibility of using the hard case when you're traveling on a plane or some type of longer journey like that. But if you're going into a rough area or down by the beach where you don't want to take the hard case with you, you can pull the foam out, put it right into the backpack and take that with you. If you check their website right now, they've got a combination of the hard case and that duffel bag for sale as a package deal. So check that out. So hang on, we're going to go through the review in a couple of minutes, and I hope you find it enjoyable. Okay, so let's get into the review. So what I have here is the MicroRaptor Pro hard case for the DJI Phantom 4. If you've used these cases before from MicroRaptor, you'll notice that the Phantom 3 case and the Phantom 4 case are almost exactly the same size, if not the same cabinet. I haven't compared them side by side yet, but the measurements on this are 24 inches this direction, 16 inches this direction, and 10 inches this direction, which means this case will fit comfortably in an overhead compartment on most planes that you fly on today. The only ones you might have a challenge with are the smaller planes, and honestly you have to check baggage on those anyway, typically at the gate. But most other planes you can slide this right in above you in the overhead baggage compartment on the plane. The case is extremely durable. It's built of very heavy-duty plastic. In addition to the plastic, which doesn't give at all, it's built to take scuffs and bangs and drops. They've built in these extra ribbings on both ends, which reinforce the actual outside of the case, so they're at the stress points on the case, which prevent it from twisting, which may again damage components internally. Another nice thing they did is extend the lip with ribs along the end, so if this is dropped on either end, it's not going to crack open on you. So all in all, it's an extremely well-built case, very, very durable. In addition to that, you've got two handles to carry the case. You've got one on the side and one on the top, and I use these often to carry the case on short distances. What I like about these handles, and they really put a lot of thought into this, is not only are they heavy duty, but they're extremely comfortable handles, so you can carry this for a long period of time and not feel like it's digging into your fingers, which is nice. Another nice feature is the fact that these handles lock both in the up position and in the down position. So if you listen closely, hear that lock down? The reason that's important is if you travel with this and you have to check your bags, if this gets thrown in a baggage compartment and the handle happens to be up and another bag comes along and hits it on the hinge on either end, it can actually crack the hinge at that point and destroy the handle. So the fact that you can close this and know that when you check the bag it's going to stay closed, it's not going to get banged by another bag in the baggage compartment, you're in good shape. If you look closely too, the rib extends out past the handle, which is nice because anything that comes alongside of it's going to hit that rib and skid along. It's not going to catch on that handle. So really well thought out. On the back, you've got the handle to actually wheel this through an airport. So this is built with a locking latch where you can lift this up and you've got the handle ready to go. Both of these wheels are very heavy duty. So this is really nice when you're traveling in an airport, you've got a long walk between your car and the hotel or whatever it happens to be. We travel an awful lot with our drones, and having that ability when I've got a connecting flight in O'Hare or someplace between two distant terminals, it is a godsend to have that and be able to pull it through. Not that you couldn't carry this, because the case itself is not that heavy, but when you load the case up with the drone, 3 or 4 batteries, a controller, a tablet, and a bunch of other doodads, you're carrying dead weight. So it's not bad for short distances, but I like that ability to wheel it around. The other thing I like a lot like this is one of the reasons I'm really a fan of these MicroRaptor cases, is some of the other cases we looked at, the less expensive cases, had handles on them, but they were aluminum tubed handles and they weren't latching, they didn't lock, so they would pop up on their own, which doesn't seem like a big deal until you realize that if you're checking this thing and it gets rattled around in the baggage compartment and it pops up, the minute this thing gets thrown into the back of a plane, if this gets pushed in either of these two directions, it's going to bend this and make it useless because you won't be able to slide it back down. So the fact that this locks down and won't come up without actually unlatching it here means that it's going to be locked securely and not going to give you trouble, which is really peace of mind for you. So looking around the front of this case, you've got the same latches you had on the Phantom 3. Both of these latches are plastic. Now MicroRaptor gives you the ability to upgrade these to metal latches if you want to. They also have an upgrade that includes a metal latch and a key where you can actually lock it. I don't know if that's a great idea for me because I tend to lock things on occasion and then forget to unlock them. So if I were to lock that, check it at the airport, and TSA had to get into it, I'm sure they'd break out a crowbar and pop open the case just to discover that it's nothing more than a drone and a few batteries in there, but the problem is the case is destroyed at that point. So for me, the plastic latches are perfectly fine. If I wanted a little more security, I might upgrade to the metal ones, maybe for durability. But honestly, I've had my Phantom 3 case for a long time, opened it and closed it hundreds of times, haven't had a single problem with the latches. So I think the plastic latches are fine. I also like the fact that there are 2 locking holes on either end of the front. So if I do travel with it, I lock this with TSA approved locks, which means it keeps the onlookers out. So if somebody's just curious about what's in the case, they can't get in there. But if TSA needs to get in there, they can open this special lock with a special key they have, pop it open, do their inspection, put it all back together, close it up and lock it. So when it pops out the plane at the other end, everything is where it belongs inside the unit. So pretty straightforward. The only other thing I'll mention about the exterior of this is this left latch, or this right latch, sorry. This one is exactly the same on the Phantom 3. On this side, the latch is different, and what's different about it is with the Phantom 3 Raptor case, MicroRaptor case, there was an issue with equalization of pressure. And if you read the instructions, which I never do, which is one of my biggest flaws, I'm a nerd and I tend to dive right into stuff, and then if I make a mistake, I'll go look at the instructions later. Had I read the instructions out of the gate, I would have realized that the case is waterproof, and there's a grommet back here that's inside of a tiny hole that maintains that waterproof integrity. The problem with that is that it was difficult for the case to equalize pressure when you flew with it. So luckily I read the instructions before I flew the first time, but the way you got around that is if you were going to go on an airplane, you would pop out that tiny little grommet and then you'd be fine. The case could actually take in air when you needed it, and it could expel air to equalize the pressures. If you didn't take that grommet out and you flew, the case did a pretty good job of evacuating air, or I should say taking in air, but the problem was when you were at altitude and it needed to sort of expand the air that was inside by drawing in more, it couldn't do that. So what happens is the case would be concave. It's sort of like if you've flown a lot and you brought a bottle of water with you and you were drinking that up at 30,000 feet and put a cap back on it and left it in your seat, by the time you landed, the bottle would have been crushed because all that air inside there contracts. The same thing would happen inside the case. So as long as you were willing to take that grommet out and put it back in when you were flying or not flying, it was perfectly fine. But again, the geniuses at MicroRaptor realized that that might have been an issue and have upgraded this latch now to be a total self-contained pressurization latch. You don't have to do anything for it. It's able to recognize the fact that there's a pressure imbalance inside and outside the case. It'll take in air as it needs it, it'll expel air as it needs it, and it'll keep it perfectly balanced. So all those troubles are gone with this new case. You just basically take it on the plane, throw it in the overhead, and forget all about it. You're ready to rock and roll. So that's pretty much it from the outside of the case. Let me open it up and take a look inside. Right out of the gate, you'll notice they've done a great job with sort of micro-contouring the plastic inside there, or I should say the foam inside there. It's laser cut to be exactly what you need to fit components in there. Your drone would fit in the center. You've got room for 4 batteries here. You could put 2 more batteries over here if you want. I travel with three batteries typically, so I've got plenty of space in there for the 3 batteries. You can use one of these compartments for something else. Your power supply would fit up here along with the cord. You've got your desiccant, which comes in the package here. And you've got an extra compartment here that you can use for miscellaneous things, and it's even got a top that pops back on. And the front of this, you can pull that out. That's where your tablet's going to go. And that's pretty much it for the drone. One thing I will caution you about, and this happened to me when I first got it, it's shipped empty. And if there are components in there, it actually holds this piece down. But if you pull this piece out, in the bottom of the case, there are 2 sort of support foams down there. I'm sure you can see them. What happened with my case when I got it was these support foams had fallen out because it jumbled around, and they were sitting on the center rib. So when I got it, that blue piece was sticking way up and I didn't realize it. So when I first pulled it out of the box, this was up about this high. And I thought to myself, well, that's kind of a clumsy setup. I'm surprised that it would sit up that high. So when I pulled this out, I realized that those things had shifted around. So when you get your case, first thing you want to do is pull this thing out and make sure that both of those things in the bottom are where they need to be. And there's little eyelets in there where they can center them. Then you put this piece back in the center and you're good to go. Now they do include another piece of foam that you can use for further protection if you decide to down here. I don't use that piece, I leave that out, because when the drone sits in there, if this piece is in the bottom, the legs land on this, and the drone sits a little bit higher than I'm comfortable with. So taking this out, the drone actually sits down, the arms go down inside these cutouts. I feel much more secure with it. So it works out pretty well. In addition to that, inside this package that you get with the MicroRaptor case, if I can get it open, has a couple of things inside there that you'll want to know about. It's, first of all, if I were to read this, I wouldn't have had problems with the last one, but it gives you sort of an idea of what fits where inside the case. There's your desiccant, which again fits in this compartment over here. You'll find these clear rods, which are the same as the Phantom 3, and these posts just slide into these holes. And what those are there for is your prop guards. They basically help you orient the props so that when you put the drone in there, the props sit between these things and they're not going to flap around. Because the old days, or some of the other cases that didn't have these, the props would sit there fine. You'd go to close the case, one would turn a little bit and you'd pinch it in the corner, which isn't good. So the first thing I noticed when I took a look at the case, in addition to the fact that it was riding high, once I fixed that, I started thinking about it and I said, okay, my drone can fit there, my batteries fit there, the controller fits there, everything looks great. Where do my blades go? Like, I know I can have 4 blades on the copter, but there used to be a blade compartment right there that I could put my blades in. There's no blade compartment. So my first thought was, okay, I got it early. Did I get an early version that they forgot to cut the blade compartment out? And again, I went back to the manual. If you study the manual, you'll find that, and this is ingenious, in the top of this, the back of it, is a complete blade management system. So they've actually taken the foam from the top and etched in holes for all the blades to fit in the back. I think this is a brilliant move on their part. And this is one of the reasons I love this company, is that they're guys that think about the way people use these cases and really worry about their drones. And I think they were thinking, like I do, that the blades sitting in the cabinet with all the other stuff that's in there, they're the most delicate part of the drone in so many ways. And having them in there where a guy like me will come along, put the blades in. I'm only supposed to put 4 blades in there, but I'll stick 6 in the bag, then I'll stick it inside there, then I'll lay a compass on top of it, and I'll close the case thinking everything is great, and then I'll bend the blades, right? So having the blades in the case with the drone may seem like a great idea, but they weren't really protected that well. By having them completely separate on the top, they're completely isolated from anything inside the case damaging them, or you getting them crushed. So I really like the fact that they came up with that little clever idea to keep them separate. What's nice about that is that I can actually store 8 blades here, plus the 4 that are on my drone gives me 12 blades. Now you may think that's excessive, but and it probably is, but if you're traveling for a week or two and you're droning at a couple of different places, even though this drone is feasibly or technically crash proof, I'm going to find a way to crash the thing. I know I am. So I want to have extra blades with me so I can change those. But even if you're not going to crash the drone, and please don't crash your drones, but if you're not going to crash your drone, even having a drone land in high grass sometimes that catches a blade of grass or something on the blades can put debris on the blades that will cause them to be unbalanced. So always have them spare blades with you that are clean and ready to go are a pretty good idea. So the blades fit up top there and you're good to go there. All right, so inside this compartment, I'll show you how the components fit. So the batteries slide down to these 4 slots over here. I have 3 batteries. You'll notice also there's Velcro on this. This is a new addition to this case. The reason I think they did that is on the Phantom 3, the batteries actually had a large lip that protruded around the upper ring. And if you had the case from them for the Phantom 3, the batteries would slide down inside the foam and they would protrude up a little above the foam. Then when you close the top foam would keep them nice and cozy in there. These slide down a little further. The batteries are redesigned. There's not as big a lip around the outside of them. So these actually sink down in the holes underneath, and they put the Velcro in there to sort of give you a way to keep them down in that hole. So there are my 3 batteries. Those fit in there great. The controller, piece of cake, goes right in over here just like the last one. The nice part about this too is the compartment's big enough where the controller can fit, and if you're using one of the lanyards, a lot of guys like using the lanyards to hang it around their neck. The lanyard can be clipped on there and can stay in there as well. There's extra room for that with no problems. As far as the drone goes, the drone fits comfortably in the cabinet like this. And like I mentioned before, if you take that foam out, this actually sits down in the foam very securely, and those blade guards keep it from rotating. And you can see that that's down deep in that foam, so there's nothing going to move it around. It's not going to hit the bottom. It's perfectly nestled in there where it's nice and safe. Then you've got room up front for your tablet if you're carrying a tablet with you. So overall, I think this is a phenomenally effective case, very, very durable case. And again, I've used these MicroRaptor products for quite some time. I'll be honest with you, we did a lot of homework before we bought the first case from them. We bought the Phantom 3 case, and we must have looked at every case on the market, pretty much every case we could get our hands on. And I had certain criteria that I really, really needed for the case to be protective. I'm a fan of having cases that you can button your drone up with the blades on, even though I pull the blades off most of the times when I travel. So the case had to have that. It had to have a roller bar in the back that I could extend and roll it around. It had to be watertight. And honestly, the MicroRaptor cases, for my money, are hands down the best cases in the market today. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for that because there's a lot of fans out there of all the other cases that are out there. If you have a case you like, stick with it. I'm not saying it isn't a great case. It's probably a great case, too. My experience with the MicroRaptor cases has been phenomenal. That Phantom 3 I've got in that case has traveled all over the country with me in very rugged environments, on and off planes, and it's extremely durable. I've had no trouble with it whatsoever. And I really expected that, you know, with the kind of use it gets, I'd have little things that would fall apart at this point, but it's as good as the day I bought it. I mean, it's scuffed up because it's been in and out of a lot of airplanes and a lot of back of cars and trunks and stuff, but in large part it's in great shape. So I'm looking forward to big things with this one. I like it an awful lot, and I think they've done a phenomenal job with this. I think the improvements they've built into it make it a much more better value, if you will, than the last generation of case. And the last thing I'll mention, which I did kind of mention at the outset of this, is the foam inside here. Let me get the drone out of the way. The foam inside here comes out very easily. And what I like about the setup they've got now is that if you spend a lot of time droning away from your home or anywhere in different environments, the hard case is nice for traveling. There's no toys about it, and I like having it when I'm on airplanes or I'm local around here where I can pull it out of my car and wheel it to a location. But if I'm down by the beach or I'm in the woods or I'm hiking, I don't want to put a backpack on. And most other companies will sell you a hard case, then they'll sell you a backpack, and both of those are very expensive investments. What these guys did at MicroRaptor is they thought through that problem and they said, you know what, if we made this foam removable and then we built a canvas backpack that the foam would fit into, our customers could buy the hard case and the backpack and transfer the foam between them and save quite a bit of money. And that's exactly what you can do. So if you check their website, I think they've got a special going on right now where you can get the hard case, then you can get the backpack, and you can use the two of them together. And all you do basically is transfer the foam between them, which is great. So you know, it seems like a perfect value. And I've used both the hard case with the drone in it and the canvas bag just for extra stuff, and it works out great. So you know, if you're in the market for a case for the Phantom 4, it's a brand new drone. The case itself, a couple $100. It's not that expensive. I mean, it's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, but when you think about the investment in the drone, you've got $2,000 worth of gear in here between the drone, the batteries, the controller, the tablet. So $200 to protect that and give you the peace of mind that you're going to be able to travel with it. You're not going to have to worry about damaging it on the road. I think is well worth that money. So for my money, again, MicroRaptor builds a phenomenal case, and if you're in the market for one, I would seriously consider this MicroRaptor Pro because it's a phenomenal case. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please hit me up on the site. We'll be doing more of these review videos very soon. In the meantime, happy droning. I hope this was helpful.